What if Luffy was reborn with the Haki of Joy Boy? Not just strong Haki, ancient Haki. A power so dense it warps reality. The day Luffy is born, the Grand Line goes silent. Sea kings across the globe dive to the deepest trenches. They know. The Master is back. East Blue. The Calamity. Luffy is 5 years old when Garp tries to train him. Garp throws a punch, and the air shatters. Luffy doesn't move. His Conqueror's Haki is a passive shield. Garp's fist stops inches from Luffy's face, repelled by an invisible force. Garp isn't proud. He's sweating. He calls Sengoku on a secure line. The child. He's not a hero. He's an extinction event. When the mountain bandits arrive, there is no fight. Higuma steps into the bar, and the floorboards turn to dust. Luffy looks up, and the pressure is so high the bandits' lungs collapse. They don't pass out, they expire. Shanks arrives at Fuchsia Village, and the Red Force nearly capsizes. The closer he gets to Luffy, the harder it is to breathe. Ben Beckman warns him, don't give him the hat, Shanks. Give him the world, or he'll take it. Luffy sets sail at 17. Not in a dinghy, but on the back of a sea king he didn't even have to tame. It just followed him. Bounty, 0. The Marines are suppressing his existence. They don't want the world to know a god is sailing the East Blue. The Glass Desert. Luffy walks into Rain Base. Crocodile tries to use a Sable's Storm. Luffy releases a pulse of armament Haki so hot the sand turns to solid glass instantly. Crocodile is trapped in a crystal prison of his own making. Luffy doesn't use a single gum fruit move. He just walks through the glass walls. Smoker corners him. He tries to use his smoke, but Luffy's Haki is so total, it coats the very molecules of the air. Smoker's fruit stops working. He's just a man in a room with a monster. The world government can no longer hide it. First bounty, 1,500,000,000. The highest starting bounty in history. They labeled him the natural disaster. Enel calls himself a god. Luffy arrives on the upper yard and the lightning strikes him. It does nothing. Not because he's rubber, but because his Haki is a literal void. It eats the energy. Luffy stares at Enel. The mantra Enel uses? It shatters. Enel's mind is flooded with 800 years of Joy Boy's memories. He goes insane in seconds. Luffy doesn't ring the bell. He rings the world. He releases a burst of Conqueror's Haki that is felt in Marijois. Imu stands up for the first time in centuries. The Straw Hats aren't a crew anymore. They are disciples. Zoro's Haki is blooming just by being near Luffy. Luffy stands on the courthouse roof. He doesn't tell Sogeking to shoot the flag. Luffy just points his finger. A beam of focused Conqueror's Haki, the king's spear, vaporizes the Tower of Justice. Lucci tries to use Rokuogan. Luffy's internal destruction Haki is so advanced that Lucci's muscles turn to liquid the moment he touches Luffy. New bounty, 3 billion. He is now officially considered a Yonko-level threat before even entering the New World. The Whitebeard War happens early because the Marines are desperate to execute Ace to bait Luffy into a trap. Luffy doesn't fall from the sky. He walks across the ocean. The water freezes under his feet from the sheer pressure of his soul. He enters the plaza. 100,000 Marines. All 3 admirals. Luffy releases a black flash of Conqueror's Haki. 95,000 Marines die instantly. Their hearts couldn't handle the frequency. Akainu leaps forward with a magma dog. Luffy catches the magma with his bare hand. No burn. No gear 2. Just raw, ancient Haki crushing the heat. He looks at Sengoku and says, step down. Or, I'll erase this island. Whitebeard laughs. He realizes this isn't the new era. This is the original era returning to take what's hers. The New World, the unrivaled. Kaido hears about the monster and seeks him out. They meet on an isolated island. Kaido hits Luffy with a Thunder Bagua. Luffy doesn't dodge. The club hits Luffy's head and shatters. The indestructible Kaido is bleeding from the shockwave of Luffy's passive defense. Luffy looks at the strongest creature and says, Asterisk, you've spent decades trying to die. Let me help you. One punch. No devil fruit. Just a Haki-infused fist that punches through Kaido's scales, through his spine, and splits the island in half. Bounty, 8,900,000,000. The highest ever recorded. Higher than Roger. Higher than Whitebeard. Laugh Tale, the final reckoning. Luffy arrives at the final island. He finds the treasure. It's a mirror. Joy Boy's message isn't a joke. It's a prophecy. Asterisk, I am not coming back. I am becoming you. The 5 elders arrive with the ancient weapon, Uranus. They fire from the sky. Luffy looks up. He reaches into the air and grabs the beam of light. He crushes the energy of a continent-destroying weapon in his palm. Imu appears. The shadow versus the sun. But this isn't a fight. It's an eviction. Luffy's Haki expands until it covers the entire planet. Every slave is freed. Every wall is broken. Every fruit user loses their powers as the sea's curse is overwritten by the king's will. The world doesn't change because of a war. It changes because it has no choice. Luffy sits on the empty throne, not to rule, but to break it.